Gwitchin. I am reaching out to all citizens of the Vuntut Gwitchin First Nation in a historical address as we find each other in hard times. Now is not the time for panic or to feed into any uncertainty, as there are unprecedented efforts between all levels of government within our country to provide the safety and well-being of our people. This time now, more than ever, the safety and the well-being of our people calls on all of us to consider how we can help our communities and each other. Most importantly, by respecting the protocols from the Chief Medical Officer of the Yukon and the government of the Vuntut Gwitchin. Our government has been in daily meetings with the Chief Medical Officer, Yukon and federal governments, as well as respective Yukon First Nation leadership, to stay ahead of any threat to our people. Within the community, we have had meetings with our local RCMP, co-op store manager, head nurse, and essential staff, all of whom have been working together under significant workloads to ensure the best possible outcomes in respect of the very real threat that the COVID-19 or coronavirus presents us. I would like to thank all of our staff and partners who are working so hard to support you, the people. I would like to begin by addressing our efforts and what may come as current considerations and efforts are being undertaken. We know with the Prime Minister's announcement this morning that Canada will be enforcing the Quarantine Measures Act, which allows for fines or even jail time for those who do not follow orders to quarantine. Self-isolation, however, is different and is a measure of lesser threshold and one that the Vuntut Gwitchin government will be enforcing. As of today, we are strictly enforcing our protocols on our traditional territory as follows. 1. Strict social distancing in effect throughout the entire community of Old Crow and the traditional territory of the Vuntut Gwitchin government. Social distancing constitutes staying away from other people of up to 2 meters. People must self-isolate for 2 weeks in Whitehorse before coming to the community of Old Crow, and once arrived to self-isolate directly from the airport and anyone else who may share the household with them. 3. All public areas, roads, spaces, buildings, and trails are for those who had had no known exposure or those who are in isolation with no known exposure. 4. Anyone who has arrived to the community from outside of the country, infected region, or have had a known exposure are subject to higher thresholds, such as keeping a log of any interactions with the time and day of up to 2 weeks while in self-isolation without leaving the house at any time without exception. 5. People are to call 811 if they suspect any symptoms and follow health professionals' advice. 6. We still recommend keeping in non-physical contact and communication with one another, and also to keep on recreational activities, but keeping a 2-meter distance from all others. 7. No interaction with babies, pregnant women, elders, or anyone with underlying respiratory issues or medical conditions. 8. Washing hands when entering or exiting any public spaces, homes, or handling anything from outside of the house, such as groceries. 9. No one in the community should be touching each other whatsoever. 10. Don't be in public places unless you have to be. 11. Don't go to the government buildings. Instead, people should call. 12. Limit your interaction with community members and all visitations. Furthermore, all future events for the remainder of the year on our traditional territory are currently canceled until further notice. We will have documents available at our local airport, including these protocols, but also a form to be filled out and immediately posted on the front door of your household, reflecting the number of and whom is in self-isolation within the household, and if there are any underlying health issues or vulnerable people, with the day of both the beginning and end of your isolation period within the community. The local RCMP can deliver orders made to our co-op and deliver them to your front door after 2 p.m., including medications from Canada Post. The co-op will now be open 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, 12 to 4 p.m. on Saturday. And we have confirmed that not only do they have a surplus of food and supplies, but that their supply lines are strong, and they are confident that we will not be facing any issues for future orders. We have also confirmed that there will be 3 RCMP officers in our community, as well as the head nurse staying to provide core services to our community. We ask that if you suspect any symptoms, that you immediately call 811 and follow health professionals' advice, that you do not go directly to the local health center, but instead call ahead to make an appointment so as to ensure that you can be received without exposing others. A ride can also be provided if you do not have one yourself, as our staff have resources to get you to the health center safely, but strictly on a needs-only basis. It is also very important that our essential staff, such as RCMP, nurses, water and sewer staff, as well as Vuntut Gwitchin government staff, are not approached, and at least a 2-meter distance be respected at all times. It is not acceptable to endanger a single person, and that we protect our critical staff, elders, and the vulnerable. If you are not abiding by these protocols, you are directly endangering your people. At this time, we do not recommend non-residents coming to the community of Old Crow, but to stay where you are, as our community has limited capacity and no available housing. You could be bringing the COVID-19 virus with you. We want to stress that although there are multiple funds being made available with different timelines and purposes, to date, our First Nation has not received any funding, and we are applying significant resources to support our people and staff. Our office closure will remain until further notice, which will incur significant costs to our government. To date, we have provided an on-the-land fund available to any beneficiary who wants to access our traditional territory, which will likely be made available in the following month as well. It is vital that you provide your receipts and proof of accessing our traditional territory. This is open for applications through the Natural Resources and Finance Department. We have also provided funding for our elders in the community who do not have access to services and face high food costs within our remote community. Further measures we are currently developing are to target, first of all, citizens across Canada without an income to assist with medications, groceries, and/or essential utilities. But the Vuntut Gwitchin government will not be issuing money or checks to individuals. We ask that all of our people within our community contact our executive assistant clerks at the Vuntut Gwitchin government office at area code 867-966-3261, and please instruct the receptionist to put you through to our clerks. Their email is also eac@vgfn.net. You are to provide your house number, your contacts, the number of beneficiaries occupying your household, and verification of income status, as well as any beneficiaries outside of the community of Old Crow, please contact Dorothy Thomas at area code 867-633-2911. Her email is whreception@vgfn.net. Again, provide all of your relevant information, including verification of income, in order to receive this emergency assistance as we work to establish the process and delivery of these supports. At this point, we want to target all non-income beneficiaries first. We need to establish these lists as we continue to develop our supports to assist you, the people. We must also consider that our protocols and supports must be taken into consideration, as well as the long-term impacts of the virus itself. We are establishing our fiscal strategy on all available monies through our existing budgets, entities, and we will be responding before we are informed of what we will be able to recoup in costs through the different funding supports as they are being finalized over the coming weeks. We can expect significant financial losses, but be assured that our fiscal management will be key to our success, and we will not be putting our government into a financial position that we cannot afford. We will meet the needs of our people with a strategic approach, as we are only now entering the beginning of the implications of the COVID-19 virus. We have currently made 12 on-the-land locations available with wall tents that can be signed out through our education department in conjunction with our on-the-land funding. We have hired Paul Josie as our emergency management officer, who is not a point of contact for any of these programs, but is our government's point of coordination and implementation of the strategies that we have struck and will continue to develop. He will soon be supported by 2 more employees by next week. We have also identified separate housing should we require quarantining within Old Crow. Air North will be limiting flights to Old Crow, segregating passengers to Old Crow from others, with stops first in Inuvik so that there is not any unnecessary traffic in our local airport, but freight and fuel hulls will continue. If there is a complete shutdown, we will lose access to critical staff such as nurses and RCMP. This being said, I must address our most critical weakness at this point, which is the behavior and dangerous practices by some of our people. It is vital that all measures we have communicated are strictly followed. Not only have we requested that our local RCMP strictly enforce prohibition and any gatherings, our government will also begin community patrols to assist these efforts. Our concern is so great that we are currently developing legislation to enact Section 13.4.0 of our self-government agreement, emergency powers. These powers will allow our government greater control and certainty over our traditional territories and making our measures enforceable by significant fines and/or possible jail time. If enacted, we will restrict all travel to the point of requiring written permission to leave or enter our lands. Our preparations are so far-reaching that we are also preparing an executive council should we lose quorum due to the virus, as a body that can be delegated council powers under exceptional circumstances to ensure the proper and responsible operations of your government. We are also making food and supply orders if this situation should become critical, as well as stockpiling traditional foods, as of which we have already begun. The Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister confirmed reports that the US is considering putting soldiers near the Canadian border. Canada and the US have a mutual ban in place on non-essential travel across the international borders, which includes trips for recreational purposes, exceptions made only for trade, commerce, and cross-border essential workers. The federal government has announced COVID-19 Emergency Benefits Program. The application process is scheduled to open early April, with payments expected to start flowing 2 weeks later. The offers of income support for up to 16 weeks for those who lose pay because of the pandemic. This will be available to wage earners, contract workers, and self-employed people who do not qualify for employment insurance. Also, there is a warning of a current text scam sending URL links and asking for personal information. Be aware, as governments will never ask for your personal information and do not provide it. Please continue to access territorial and federal government websites, as they are the best place to find reliable information on the COVID-19 virus, as well as these programs. The Vuntut Gwitchin government has made a public computer available in the front of our administration building by appointment with our reception to access Service Canada should you need this to access programming. As a current snapshot of the severity of the COVID-19 virus in Canada, as of Thursday, March 26, there are 3,897 confirmed cases in Canada, with over 500,000 globally. There are 39 deaths in Canada, with over 20,000 globally. So far, 6% of the cases have required hospitalization. 2.6% of the cases have proven critical, with 1% of the cases being fatal. The number of new cases every day based on measures taken and the cases in Canada are still expected to rise despite current precautionary measures. There is an increased risk of more severe outcomes for Canadians aged 65 and over with compromised immune systems, underlying medical conditions. And at this time, there is insufficient evidence to suggest that pregnant women are at a greater risk for more serious outcomes related to the COVID-19 virus. We ask that you please seek information on federal and territorial websites and continue to inform yourselves with confirmed information sources, and stay away from any unknown sources leaning into conjecture, especially when it involves the Vuntut Gwitchin government. We make this official communication today to empower our people with facts and measures that go above and beyond any recommendations. This should ensure everyone that we will not be accepting the endangerment of a single Vuntut Gwitchin First Nation member or our community of Old Crow. It is more important to abide by these measures now more than ever or anywhere else, as there are currently no cases of the COVID-19 virus within the community of Old Crow. We must practice the highest of measures, not only as government, but as the people, as there should be a positive COVID-19 case in the weeks and months to come. We will together be prepared to not promote its spread among a single community member. the RCMP, local health authorities, Yukon federal governments, and the Vuntut Gwitchin government are doing our part. You must now ask yourself, are you doing yours? What would your elders want you to do? In closing, I would like to offer the representative of our Elders Council the opportunity to address our beneficiaries as well. May Kegwadak and Vindagadachu be with you all, Shalaknai. Masicho.
Masik Chief, on behalf of the Elders Council, I would like to thank the Chief, the staff, and the resources that put this message out for our people, for the safety of our people. We ask you to respect it. It is time now to show your true Vuntut culture. For decades, our elders has told us that hard times are coming and that we need to prepare ourselves, prepare our family, and to prepare our community. That time has come. We ask you to follow the instructions of our chief for the safety and the well-being of this community. May God bless you all. Masicho.